And muscle loss after 60 isn't just about aging, it's about messaging. And when the body stops receiving the right biochemical signals to maintain muscle mass, it begins to break it down slowly, quietly, and then relentlessly. This process has a name, sarcopenia, and it starts earlier than most people realize. But what few people know is that muscle isn't lost because of age. It's lost because of inflammation, nutrient deficiency, and hormonal miscommunication. And here's the surprising truth. One of the most effective weapons to fight it may already be in your fridge. And cheese. For years, cheese has been painted with a broad fear-based brush. Too fatty, too salty, too indulgent. But that narrative missed something vital. Because when you choose the right kinds of cheese, ones rich in bioavailable amino acids and slow-digesting proteins and probiotic compounds, you're not feeding indulgence. You're feeding your muscles, your metabolism, and your longevity. Sarcopenia is more than weakness. It's a biological shift where muscle is replaced by fat, where mitochondria slow, and where insulin resistance begins to creep in. The body's largest metabolic organ, skeletal muscle, begins to fade. And when that happens, and every system pays the price, balance declines, blood sugar rises, bone density suffers, and most critically, resilience disappears. But the solution is not simply to exercise more. It's to give your body the raw materials it needs to repair what's fading. And protein is the cornerstone of that repair. But not all protein is created equal. What matters most is a specific amino acid called leucine, and the trigger switch for muscle protein synthesis. Without enough leucine, the body cannot rebuild muscle no matter how much total protein you consume. And here's where cheese steps in. Certain cheeses, and especially age varieties, casein-rich options and goat-based selections contain high concentrations of leucine, glutamine, calcium, vitamin K2, and even beneficial probiotics that reduce inflammation in the gut, which is directly linked to muscle preservation. And what's remarkable is that cheese does more than just provide protein. It slows digestion, promotes nighttime repair, and stabilizes blood sugar. And three things that are absolutely critical for maintaining lean tissue as you age. And unlike fast-burning proteins like whey or meat, and certain cheeses deliver a time-released stream of amino acids, allowing the body to stay in a reparative state longer, and especially during sleep when growth hormone peaks. The key isn't eating more cheese. It's eating the right kind of cheese in the right context. And when paired with light movement, morning sunlight, and restorative sleep, cheese becomes a tool of healing, not harm. And this is nutritional synergy in action. And for people over 60, it's a missing link in the fight against frailty. So, and if you've been told to cut cheese out of your life, it's time to rethink that advice. Because when it's carefully chosen, and cheese doesn't burden the body, it nourishes it, and it delivers the very compounds your muscles are begging for, and it helps you flip the switch that says grow again. But let's now look at why muscle disappears in the first place, and how it has far less to do with aging and far more to do with a broken biological rhythm. And sarcopenia isn't something you feel all at once. It's not an injury. It doesn't make headlines in your blood work. It's something that sneaks in quietly, steadily, until one day getting out of a chair feels harder. Stairs take more effort, and your strength simply isn't what it used to be. But here's the truth, this isn't just aging, and it's a shift in how your body allocates its resources. And the good news is that you can change the message. By the time we reach our 60s, and our muscle mass begins to decline at a rate of about 1 to 2% per year, unless we actively intervene, that may sound small, but over a decade, and it adds up to a loss of strength, mobility, and metabolic protection. Why does it happen? Because after midlife, and the body becomes less efficient at converting protein into muscle, the anabolic resistance begins to rise, meaning we need more of the right type of protein more frequently to maintain the same level of repair. And that's not all. And hormonal shifts play a major role. Testosterone, estrogen, growth hormone, and IGF-1, all vital for muscle retention, begin to drop. And at the same time, inflammation increases, oxidative stress builds, and the gut becomes less effective at absorbing amino acids. And this is the biological terrain of sarcopenia, a perfect storm of lowered repair signals and increased breakdown signals. But there's one more layer, and it's one most people overlook. Muscle is not just tissue, it's an endocrine organ. It releases signaling molecules called myelins that communicate with the brain, the liver, even the immune system. When you lose muscle, and you don't just lose mass, you lose messaging. You become more vulnerable to insulin resistance, cognitive decline, and immune dysfunction. And that's why sarcopenia is now recognized as a major contributor to early aging, and why fighting it is not optional. It's essential. The good news, sarcopenia is not irreversible. In fact, the body is wired to respond quickly when it receives the right inputs. And resistance training, even light body weight movement, triggers muscle protein synthesis. But that process only works if you have the right amino acids in circulation. And specifically enough leucine to flip the biological switch. And this is where cheese re-enters the story, because certain cheeses, especially those we'll explore in the next sections, and deliver precisely the nutrients your aging body needs. High quality, slow digesting protein rich in leucine, glutamine, and calcium. And these nutrients not only support muscle regeneration, they also enhance sleep, regulate blood sugar, and lower inflammation, and creating the internal environment required for muscle to grow. Sarcopenia thrives on neglect, but it retreats in the presence of biological awareness. Once you understand the forces driving muscle erosion, you can begin to counter them, and not with pills or panic, but with precision nutrition and movement. The first step is knowing what your body is asking for, and the second is giving it consistently, rhythmically, and in sync with your hormonal flow. In the next section, we'll explore the first cheese that does exactly that, one that's rich in leucine, mineral dense, and naturally lactose-free. And let's talk about aged Parmesan, the ancient cheese that your muscles still recognize as fuel. Not all proteins are equal, and not all cheeses are created to heal. But one cheese crafted by hand, aged with time, and biologically aligned with what your muscles crave is aged Parmesan, known as Parmigiano Reggiano. And this ancient food is more than a flavor enhancer, it's a nutritional weapon against sarcopenia. Let's start with the biology. And Parmesan is extremely high in leucine, the amino acid your body needs to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Leucine acts like a light switch, and without it, your body doesn't get the signal to rebuild muscle. No matter how much protein you eat, but with the right dose, and especially in a form that's easily absorbed, you activate the mTOR pathway, your body's key regulator of cellular growth and repair. And aged Parmesan delivers that leucine in a concentrated bioavailable form. And because it's naturally aged for 36 months, and it undergoes a fermentation process that breaks down lactose and pre-digests the casein protein. That means it's easier to digest, and gentler on the gut, and more readily absorbed. Especially important for adults over 60 whose digestive enzyme production has declined. But Parmesan does more than just fuel muscles. It's also rich in calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin K2, nutrients that support bone density. Another silent threat to aging adults. Muscle and bone are intimately connected. As you move, muscle pulls on bone, strengthening it. But without adequate calcium and K2, bones become brittle, even if your muscles stay strong. Parmesan fills both needs in 1 ounce. And you get over 30% of your daily calcium needs, plus a boost of K2, which directs that calcium into the bone, not the arteries. And there's another dimension to this cheese, its role in reducing inflammation. During the aging process, Parmesan produces bioactive peptides, and including casmorphins and Lockley tripeptides, which have been shown to reduce blood pressure and support vascular function. And that matters because muscle can't grow in an inflamed environment. Blood flow is key, oxygen is key, and Parmesan quietly supports both. Now, and the key is timing. In context, Parmesan isn't a meal, it's a functional addition, a tool. Sprinkle it on roasted vegetables and fold it into an omelette, or pair it with fiber-rich whole foods like lentils or arugula. When eaten in the evening, and its slow-digesting protein can support overnight muscle repair, especially when paired with light movement earlier in the day. And that synergy movement primes the muscle and parmesan feeds the recovery. It also fits beautifully into metabolic flexibility. And unlike fast-burning carbs or sugary protein shakes, parmesan slows glucose absorption, keeping your insulin stable. And stable insulin is essential for both fat burning and muscle retention. Think of it as a metabolic buffer, and giving your body the steady fuel it needs to shift from breakdown to build-up. For those concerned about sodium, context matters. And a small serving of aged parmesan delivers flavor, protein, and bioactives without spiking your blood pressure when consumed alongside potassium-rich foods, hydration, and balanced meals. And the problem isn't parmesan, it's the ultra-processed foods that dominate most diets. When used intentionally, parmesan becomes medicine. And there's a reason centenarians in Italy still consume Parmigiano well into their 90s. It's nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory, and deeply supportive of longevity. This isn't a snack. It's biochemical support for your muscle blueprint, and the same blueprint your body still remembers, still responds to, and still wants to rebuild if you feed it wisely. Next, and we'll unlock a different kind of cheese. One that doesn't just build muscle, but also supports deep sleep and hormone repair. And it's the quiet powerhouse that works while you rest. Cottage cheese. And there's a window of time every night when the body does its deepest repair work. Growth hormone rises, muscles are rebuilt, and inflammation drops. But that window only opens when two things are present, and deep, undisturbed sleep and the right building blocks in your bloodstream. That's where cottage cheese steps in, not as a bedtime snack, but as a nighttime therapy for aging muscles. Let's start with the science. Cottage cheese is rich in casein protein, a slow-digesting form of protein that provides a steady release of amino acids over several hours. While whey protein spikes and falls quickly, and casein drips steadily into the bloodstream, and precisely what the body needs during the overnight anabolic window when tissue repair and hormone synthesis peak. And it's not just about protein. Cottage cheese contains tryptophan, an amino acid precursor to serotonin and melatonin, and the brain chemicals that help you relax, fall asleep, and stay in restorative stages of sleep longer. For people over 60, and sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, especially with hormone shifts and nighttime urination. By eating cottage cheese 60 to 90 minutes before bed, and you gently support melatonin production, while simultaneously providing fuel for muscle recovery. And what's happening behind the scenes is profound during deep sleep, especially during the first half of the night. Growth hormone GH surges. And GH is not just for children or athletes. It plays a critical role in cellular regeneration, collagen repair, immune modulation, and muscle growth in older adults. But GH is only released when sleep is deep and uninterrupted. And the slow-digesting protein from cottage cheese helps stabilize blood sugar, preventing nighttime crashes that wake you up. And it also keeps your body in an anabolic or building state rather than slipping into catabolism, the breakdown state that fuels sarcopenia. And what makes cottage cheese so unique is its nutrient density. A single serving delivers 25 grams of protein along with calcium, phosphorus, and selenium and vitamin B12. All of which are critical for nerve signaling, metabolism, and skeletal support. And it also contains live cultures, depending on the brand, which support gut health and a foundational aspect of inflammation control and nutrient absorption. But not all cottage cheese is created equal. And look for organic full-fat varieties, ideally those with live probiotics and no added gums or stabilizers. And the fat content helps with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and also helps prolong the satiety signal, so you don't wake up hungry in the middle of the night. And for women post-menopause and men over 60, nighttime is when the body resets hormonal rhythms, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, melatonin, and all of which influence muscle tissue retention and metabolic clarity. And supporting this process with the right type of protein before bed is a form of nutritional alignment. You're not forcing the body to grow. You're giving it what it's already asking for. And if you add a few walnuts rich in omega-3s and magnesium, or a spoon of tart cherry concentrate, a natural melatonin booster, and you create a therapeutic blend that enhances both sleep quality and muscle preservation. Cottage cheese isn't just food. It's a tool and a gentle intervention, one that signals to your body even while you sleep, we're still building. In the next section, we'll look at a completely different type of cheese. One that's easier to digest, less inflammatory, and uniquely suited to sensitive guts and aging metabolisms. This one comes from the mountains, and it may be your key to hormonal balance and metabolic energy, goat cheese. By the time we reach our 60s, digestion slows, and enzyme production drops, the gut barrier thins, and foods we once tolerated begin to create bloating, fatigue, or inflammation, and especially dairy. But not all dairy is created equal. Some forms work with the body, not against it. And one of the most powerful examples is goat cheese. Unlike cow's milk cheese, goat cheese contains a different type of casein protein, and specifically A2 casein, which is structurally closer to human breast milk and significantly less inflammatory. And for individuals with sensitive digestion, bloating, or autoimmune tendencies, an A1 casein from standard dairy can trigger low-grade immune responses. A2 casein, on the other hand, is gentler on the gut and less likely to provoke inflammation and better tolerated by aging digestive system. But digestion is just the beginning, and goat cheese is also rich in medium-chain fatty acids, MCFAs, especially caproic and caprylic and capric acid, which are metabolized differently from long-chain fats. These MCFAs are quickly converted into energy, not stored as fat, and this provides a steady source of metabolic fuel, making goat cheese not only muscle-friendly, but also fat-burning friendly for people over 60 dealing with insulin resistance or sluggish energy. This can be a game maker, and what makes goat cheese so relevant for muscle health is its combination of bioavailable protein, anti-inflammatory fats, and probiotic compounds. And these work together to create an internal environment that supports lean tissue repair, mitochondrial function, and gut-brain hormone signaling. And let's take a closer look at the gut connection. Emerging science has shown a profound link between the microbiome and muscle mass, and what researchers now call the gut-muscle axis. A diverse, healthy gut microbiome improves nutrient absorption, reduces chronic inflammation, and regulates hormones that affect muscle preservation like testosterone, IGF-1 and estrogen. Goat cheese, and especially when made from raw or fermented milk, contains beneficial probiotics like Lactobacillus acidophilus and Phytobacterium, and which help rebuild gut diversity, or those navigating post-menopausal changes and anthropause or metabolic fatigue. And this matters because without gut health, even the best protein sources go unused. And goat cheese uniquely bridges the gap between nourishment and absorption. It's also rich in calcium, phosphorus, vitamin A, and trace minerals like selenium and magnesium, all essential co-actors in enzymatic repair, nerve conduction, and muscle contraction. And these nutrients don't just support physical strength. They help stabilize mood, reduce stress, and promote restful sleep. And all of them are delivered in a small digestible portion. Goat cheese can be used in a variety of ways. Spread on flaxseed crackers, and crumbled into salads with olive oil, paired with walnuts and arugula for a nutrient-dense midday reset. It's not about volume, and it's about precision. A few ounces strategically placed in your routine delivers more than just flavor. It delivers function. And then most importantly, it delivers tolerance. For aging adults who struggle with bloating, joint pain, or a post-meal fatigue from traditional dairy, goat cheese offers the freedom to fuel without the aftermath. That's not just convenience, and it's quality of life. Your body doesn't want more food. It wants better information, food that speaks the language of your biology. And goat cheese does exactly that. It's quiet, it's potent, and it's metabolically aligned with what your 60-plus body is trying to achieve: balance, and repair, and renewal. In the final section, we'll bring all three cheeses together and show how to strategically combine them with light movement and sleep rhythm and anti-inflammatory principles to not just prevent sarcopenia, but to reverse it. Muscle is not about youth, and it's about signaling. Even after 60, your body still holds the blueprint to build strength, repair tissue, and generate energy. The question is, are you sending the right signals? Because sarcopenia doesn't happen from age. It happens from neglect, from inflammatory inputs, and from a lack of precision in how we feed, move, and rest. But the moment you realign your daily rhythm with biology, everything changes. Let's bring it all together. Start your day with movement, nothing extreme. A brisk walk, a few squats, maybe 10 minutes of dynamic stretching. And this sends a message to your muscle fibers. We're awake, we're in use, stay strong. Then support that message with a small breakfast, and rich in protein, a slice of goat cheese with hard, boiled eggs and greens, or cottage cheese with walnuts and a sprinkle of turmeric. And this anchors your morning in amino acids and anti-inflammatory fats, setting your metabolic tone for the day. And midday supports your gut and mitochondria at aged parmesan grated over a quinoa salad, roasted vegetables, or even into a warm lentil soup. And you're not just feeding flavor. You're feeding your body a slow-release stream of leucine, calcium, and vitamin K2. And these nutrients don't just build muscle, they stabilize blood sugar, support bone strength, and keep cortisol in check. And in the evening, and close the loop, give your body the fuel it needs to repair overnight. This is where cottage cheese shines, and a few spoonfuls an hour before bed delivers slow-digesting casein, protein, tryptophan, and sleep up supportive minerals like selenium and phosphorus. You're not just filling your stomach, and you're preparing your muscles to heal while you sleep. Then rest. Prioritize deep, uninterrupted sleep. No screens an hour before bed, and dim the lights. Lower the room temperature. Let your parasympathetic system take over, because this is when your muscles receive growth hormone. And this is when your mitochondria repair, and this is when your body shifts from defense mode into regeneration. All the while, remember this, and you're not trying to get back to your 20s. You're optimizing your 60s, 70s, and beyond. This is about living with strength, not just in your body, but in your choices. Gez in this context becomes more than food, becomes strategy. Aged parmesan for daytime muscle support, and cottage cheese for overnight recovery, goat cheese for gut balance and anti-inflammatory stability. Each has a role, each supports your biology, and together they form a system that speaks to your body in a language it understands. Protein, fat, minerals, and timing. And sarcopenia thrives in silence, in stillness, in the absence of input. But it retreats when you move, nourish, and align your day with your body's needs. You don't need to eat more. You need to eat with intention. You don't need to work harder, and you need to work with your biology. This isn't about shortcuts. It's about signals. And once you send the right ones consistently, daily, wisely, and your body responds. So let this be your strategy. Move first, nourish smart, sleep deep, repeat, because strength is not a memory, it's a message. And you can send that message starting today with food that heals,